Hello guys, welcome to another virtual biology lesson, and today we're going to continue the topic. Previously we have been talking about how a baby is delivered, what is happening inside mother's womb when the fetus is growing, and we have finished talking about this when we were talking about the labor, which is the process of giving birth. And today we're going to discuss what is happening with the body, with the human after they're born, and this is called the postnatal human development. So, postnatal means that after being born, prenatal means before being born. And guys, life stage is presented on Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is, of course, the Latin name for an animal species that we belong to. And guys, as it's written in this slide, one of the vitals is development. And guys, vitals are basically the activities that every single living organism performs. So this includes feeding, reproduction, development, reacting to stimuli, uh, basically everything that all the living creatures do. And one of the vitals is development. So basically, there are some changes happening to the organism, and we can see them. We can see them in the form of getting old. And guys, those changes not only affect our physical sphere, so our bodies are changing and aging and everything is turning different, but also the mental sphere, which means our character is changing a little bit depending on the experiences that we have. And guys, human life has been divided into few stages, and you will meet those phrases, those names in your life. So let's go through them. The first one is the newborn period, okres noworodkowy. And guys, basically, when a fetus is growing inside mother's womb, it's floating in water. Its lungs aren't functioning because all the oxygen is provided through the placenta. But once a baby is born, everything changes. And the newborn period is basically the period of adapting to new circumstances. So the newly born organism has to learn how to digest, how to perform gas exchange, how to defecate, because previously this was all the responsibility of placenta. Newborns sleep just like cats, up to 16 hours per day, sometimes even more, and basically they only wake up to cry. And they cry because their diaper is full, or they are hungry, or they just wake up to cry in order to cry. Sometimes the babies will become restless when they need some attention, when they need to be hugged, when they need to be taken on hands. What is quite interesting about the newborns, which is up to fourth week of life, that they have things called phonatals on their heads. And basically, I hope that you remember this from the lesson when we were talking about skeleton, that our skulls aren't made of a single piece of bone. Those are actually a few bones joined together. And those phonatals are the places where the bones are connected. And in newborns, this is pretty soft. Like, seriously, you could use your finger to just uh, press it and push it directly into the newborn's head, which is something that I strongly don't recommend, just because don't. Over time, the phonatals will become less and less elastic and the bone tissue will grow here. Okay, so we have the first 4 weeks of life, and then the new stage begins. Infancy. This is the second stage of life. And this is basically the stage between the 4th week and first year. And this is the period of the fastest growth of body. So the body keeps growing and growing and growing and growing because it had to be this small in order to be able to fit into the reproductive duct of a woman. But after this, after the body has left mother's body, after the baby, sorry, then it has to grow. And guys, basically, there's no need to buy expensive clothes for infants because they will grow out of it quickly. An infant also learns how to control its muscles. It starts to be able to lift and support its head in the second month of life, usually, because previously, before that, the muscles are so weak and the head is so huge that basically, if you don't support the head of the newborn, it might break the uh, it might break its neck. And guys, movements of a baby, of an infant, become more coordinated, which means that the infant is learning how to control its muscles. Also, the voice box of an infant starts to learn how to pronounce sounds. So, baby at this stage of life will usually make noises resembling words and will start to train its larynx. And between sixth and eighth month of life, teething will become, which is the milk teeth will start to grow. Of course, the baby has already the beginnings of adult teeth somewhere in the bones, but first are the milk teeth. And guys, this period finishes when the baby is 1 year old. Then the third stage, we have the toddlerhood, okres poniemowlęcy, and this happens up to third year of life. And guys, this is the moment basically when the toddler starts to use words, they start to speak, they start to understand meanings of words, and they also start to understand that they are separate beings. So the very beginning of individuality starts in this period. Also, in this period, the cleanliness training is what takes place. So basically, a toddler needs to be taught how to cleanly defecate. So we teach toddlers how to use toilet. And the fourth step is the childhood, which starts in the third year of life and lasts until adolescence, until puberty. So this is why girls finish the childhood period earlier and boys a little bit later. And the child is basically equipped with all the basic skills. So eating, keeping clean, speaking, moving, reacting to words, understanding them. I'm not talking about ignoring their meaning because this basically happens all the time, but still they are equipped with those skills, and those skills are absolutely necessary in order for them to begin the period of intense social development, which means that the baby goes to the kindergarten, then it goes to school, and then it starts to live in the society. So the child learns the social rules, it learns how to behave. And this is also the very important period in child's life because things that should be happening then, which are not happening then, will basically show up in the adult life. And after the sweet and basically calm period of childhood, one of the most difficult stages of life kick in, which is the adolescence. The adolescence starts, as I said, in girls a little bit earlier, usually 9 to 11 years old, and boys 10 to 12, 13 years. And it finishes, it is said that around 19th and 21st year of life, depending on sex and also depending on social circumstances. And guys, this is the period where intense changes in physical appearance happen. So tertiary sexual traits begin to be clearly visible. So what is happening with girls? Basically, the as I hope that you remember this, that tertiary sexual traits are the ones that are not connected to reproduction at all, but still they are being directed by hormones. So if it comes to girls, firstly, the shape of the body changes. So the hips get rounder, the breast starts to grow, voice changes a little bit, but just a little bit. If it comes to boys, also the shape of the body changes because men tend to have wider shoulders and thinner hips. Also, this is the period when body hair starts to grow. So all the pubic hair and armpits hair, and in men also the body hair and facial hair. This is the period where all the changes happen, such as acne, such as increased sweating, such as basically everything that is happening to you right now. This is it. And guys, this is all the result of something that is called the hormonal storm. They, uh, the whole process of adolescence happens when hypophysis sends hormones to the gonads that they are ready, that they should start to work. And gonads starts to produce gametes, but also they start to produce hormones that direct the whole set of changes. And this leads not only to physical changes, but also very intense mental changes. They affect behavior, they affect mood, they affect self esteem. And here's a reminder, a small reminder that I gave you that Instagram is not real life, and no more likes or subs will not boost your self esteem. This basically, social media in general has been proven scientifically as a threat for the healthy development, especially in the adolescence period. The next interesting thing that is happening in this period is the active searching for own identity. So you start to ask yourself questions. Who am I? Where am I going? Whom do I belong to? And so on. This is why many people in the adolescence age uh, they start to participate in subcultures, for instance, because this is means of expressing their identity that is forming. Moral codex is formed. So basically, at this point, all the values start to show up, start to form based on thoughts and experiences. And basically, those values will stay with you for the lifetime. Also, first relationships happen. So as children basically look at each other in a way that is totally neutral. And in the early childhood, basically, the division into boys and girls is clearly visible because boys don't like to play with girls and the other way around. And in this period of adolescence, things start to change. So You start to make new relations with other people. You start to make new relationships with other people. And this is all happening at once. You might have also heard the term e, bunt młodzieńczy, which is the teenage riot. So, at some point of your life, you might feel the need to riot against the rules. What is really common in this period for many teenagers, for many adolescent people, is the fact that they feel uh, not understood by others. Teenagers quite often tend to feel that they are the only individuals on this planet who have such problems, such particular problems, which is absolutely not. This is my advice for you. If you ever feel something like this, the best way to do this, to deal with this, is to talk with others. And that's it. That's really this simple, yet really, really helpful. So once this absolutely tiring period of life ends, there comes the adulthood, which is the, I forgot the number, sorry, sixth stage. And guys, adulthood is the period that starts when you stop developing, when the adolescence finishes, and it's considered that it just sort of finishes when in women when they hit menopause and men when they hit andropause. And guys, adulthood is connected with maturity, dojrzałość. And guys, there are three stages of maturity: biological, mental, and social. And guys, biological is the first one to be reached because it means that you're ready to reproduce. And basically, this stage of maturity can occur in the period of adolescence because your gonads are basically producing gametes. This is it. But in order to be called an adult, then you also have to meet those other stages, which is the mental stage of maturity. You have to feel the responsibility for your actions. You have to be able to live with others. You have to be able to bear with consequences of your own actions. Because what is characteristic for children, what is characteristic for some teenagers, that they want to do things, but they really don't pay attention to the consequences. This means that they haven't reached yet the mental maturity. And the last type of maturity is the social one. So, ability to follow social rules, ability to fit in, ability to work in the society and to sustain yourself. So, this is also connected to financial maturity. And this one is is the last one to be reached. But it depends, it really depends because these two, depending on circumstances, whatever is happening in life, they might change the order. They might come earlier, later, together, or separately. This is really, really individual. Okay, so the adulthood is the period when you just graduate, where you go to work, where you start your own family, and you live like this for many years. And what is happening now is the menopause and andropause. So the period przekwitanie. And guys, women enter menopause usually at age between 45 and 55. At this stage, the gonads just shut down. They stop producing gametes. This process can be really tiring for women because it's connected with the abruption to the hormonal balance. Because, as you know, not only the gonads produce hormones, but also the gametes themselves, and then the corpus luteum, and everything that is connected with the cycle. So this abruption to the cycle leads to changes and symptoms like insomnia, heat waves, sweating, headaches, and basically you might feel irritated, you might feel tired, you might feel really hot at once, and then really cold the next second. If it comes to men, then this stage is not that dramatic because the andropause starts at age between 50 and 60, but the gonads are still producing sperm cells. The only difference is that after this point, after reaching andropause, um, the gametes are not the same quality as they used to be. And they will be produced like this until the age of 70, even 80, depending on the individual case. What is characteristic about those periods in both men and women is that the body proportions change. So uh, it is clearly visible that something is happening. And guys, once this period is over, the last period of life, the last stage of life occurs, and this is the elderly. And guys, basically, elderly is the period where you stop where you stop working because you have the right for pension after reaching a certain age, of course. Right now in Poland, it's 60 years for women and 65 for men. After this period, if you also meet some other requirements, you are entitled to pension. The organism gets weaker and weaker, and this is absolutely terrible. Senses start to fail, bones become more brittle. Also, the capacity of lungs decreases, so you feel tired more easily. Heart doesn't pump blood as efficiently as it used to. And the risk of falling for elderly related diseases rises, such as Alzheimer's. A good way to prevent it from happening is basically training not only your body, not only physically, but also mentally. So, reading books, learning languages, basically learning is the best way to keep the brain going on with creating new connections between neurons, and this quite effectively prevents falling from those diseases. Uh, Older people also, what is happening, the body proportions change and they get shorter over time. This is why you rarely see a very tall old woman. Usually they are much shorter. Also, the feet starts to grow. Also, ears start to grow as well because they have to like catch even more sounds in order to hear anything because the sensory cells in internal ear are just damaged after years and years of working. Guys, estimated lifespan. This is something really interesting. Based on scientific research, the quality of life, the medical data, and whatsoever, researchers prepared the data of estimated lifespan. For Poland, it's 74 years for men and 82 for women. This changes from year to year, and basically, throughout past years, it has been increasing. But something has happened recently in Poland that the estimated lifespan started to drop a little bit. Probably it's the lifestyle and also the quality of air, which is getting worse and worse. In the past, in the medieval times, the estimated lifespan of a person was 30 years old, 35 up to 40. Only thanks to the development of modern medicine, to the invention of vaccinations, antibiotics, and drugs as such, we have been able to extend this lifespan up to this age. In order to have a healthy and long life, you have to pay attention to healthy lifestyle in general. Diet, avoiding stress, also physical activity, but also mental activity. And you have to make sure that your environment is safe, that your environment is healthy, it's not damaging for you. Guys, so basically, the next stage that is happening is the death. And the death happens by slowly shutting down all the systems. The cells aren't capable of dividing anymore. The cells start to break down, the tissues start to malfunction, and eventually the whole system is shut down. The senses turn off one by one, and we start to lose consciousness. After death, whatever there is, but from biological point of view, the moment you die, your brain stops working. Okay, guys, so this is it for today. Now your task is to go to the